Hello everybody, here I am. I'm so grateful to have this local to me. I used to live in some council estate that was like an abandoned airfield, and there was literally like zero. The way I used to say it is like, because I smoke weed most of the time, and like obviously this culture is very queasy about people smoking weed, even though I mean, I could go on for fuck's sake, obviously. Just look at this, what the fucking shops sell to children. I don't need to say. But yeah, I would say, there's no secret bush to go, because everyone's always like, because I just lived in like some concrete grid with no like hills or different terrain. It was literally an abandoned airfield of alleyways and like concrete. And yeah, there was like a mild bush that you could stand in and have a joint, but it was the only one, and it was right next to a fucking like a massive road. And then they had a few large trees, and there was a storm and it blew one of them down. So then the council deemed all of them to be unsafe, so they literally cut down like all of the trees. And they done it as well. Like here, there's like, if you go up there, there's like some big hill with like some folly tower thing on it, just like a meaningless aesthetic building. Speaking of aesthetics, look at the beauty. That's one thing about awakening, is I swear, like Alan Watts says, like people don't see the beauty in just every day. That's one of the things I get the most joy out of. It's just like, look how vibrant it is. I literally come here because the air is like full of nutrients, I can tell. The air's got like flavour to it. I was saying, like, why did we walk away from this? Like, why do we not fucking live here anymore? Like there's this, but then the houses are all in the concrete grid outside. But the air is so rejuvenating. I just done the Wim Hof method here. Sat on my meditation cushion. Used to drink Evian back in the day, but now we're straight up Volvic. When the truth unfolds, there'll be no ham sandwiches. I know told in a hoe I make music till everybody knows me. Trap so good, don't sell no sausage rolls. It was a truth that set me free for the last 5 years. I looked at the TV screen, not once, no need, conscious. I don't want to see my homie order pizza with pepperoni, honestly. I don't want to see none of my family or my brethrens eating doner meat. Yo, avocados for starters, no frankfurters, no chipolatas, spinach, olives, lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes. Fuck 5 a day, I'll eat 10 a day. I can't stop writing, I can't put my pen away. Wake up in the morning, alkaline food, walk straight to the park, then I meditate. I'm spiritual. I don't watch television and I don't really talk on phones. I meditate and drink herbal tea and read books. You might see me rolling deep in water stones, no sausages, broccoli, and we don't eat hybrid carrots. You might see me in Holland and Barrett's with vegetarian blood, and we all eat salad. Put your bacon down, steamers up. So yeah, look into breath work. That's what I just done. It raises your consciousness. It's very psychedelic. It reminds me somewhat of nitrous oxide in a way, but I don't think, like, don't do that shit unless you really know what you're doing, like, because I ain't looked into that much. I'll do a trip report on it soon. I had some nitrous not long ago, and it was very far out, but I don't know, I'd be very careful with that shit. Dissolves boundaries. So what was I gonna say? I don't even know why I was making this video. But yeah, you know, they do it. No, sorry, I was going to say about that folly. There's loads of trees up there, and I noticed, I was looking for trees to climb, just because I know Hamza, he said, like, it's impossible to be, he was like, I'm pretty sure you can't be depressed when you're just climbing a tree. And I think he's right. It's like, you know, if you're just in the midst of climbing a tree, you're just like absorbed in climbing a tree. So, you know, it's hard to be depressed when, especially if it's a scatty tree and you're like fearing falling off, which one of them was. But basically it seems like the council have cut down every tree that you can climb, and it's just this Babylon shit. I'm so sick of it, man. Like, honestly, that's what I was saying like not long ago. Like, every time I take shrooms, they tell me to leave this culture. They literally tell me to fucking join like a Buddhist monastery or some shit and just eat fruit in the sun. Like, you don't need to work the way you do. Like, it's literally just a lie. Just integrate in a community and be useful. Everything gets done. We are literally slaves. It's weird. But then at the same time, like, we're not. But we are. It doesn't need to be this way at all. 100%. Mr. Nature knows, Miss Sunshine knows. But they spent 6 months, living in a fucking eco-village for free. On, like, smoking weed for free, food for free. But they still come back to Babylon every now and then and get, like, a wage slave job. And save up and then go travelling and shit. So, I mean, I'm sure, obviously, I don't want to be ideological about it, but there's no, like, we are literally, there's a small amount of people who've, like, got a one-up on, like, all of the population, I swear. And they're just killing the indigenous and made us all prisoners, and that's the real reason I do my thing, like, beat the Matrix, defeat the Matrix, stand up, don't take a seat in the Matrix, you gotta watch what you eat in the Matrix, can't touch processed meat in the Matrix, life ain't fair in the Matrix, drink booze if you're there in the Matrix, you gotta learn self-care in the Matrix, always gonna need Tupperware, come to your party, empty your head like Ramana Maharshi, I'm pulling out parsley, rolling with the electric army, Babylon sending the whole world bar me, don't want Gucci, don't wear Versace, man I gotta go deep yet to Samadhi, meditate every day and do Pilates, so don't offer me K on your car keys, I don't need to watch, I'm the watcher, I don't drink coffee in Costa, nature's right here, I never lost her, so you won't see me sipping on a Foster, I don't need to watch when I'm watching, I got powers, like Austin, God's right here, I never lost him, merge with the one I don't care what it's costing, like, all the lyrics that I've been spitting, by the way, are by Inspector Veg, but yeah, it's, so, oh yeah, what I was actually going to speak about originally, sorry, is focus on being grounded and centered. That's like mostly what you need. Meditation, breathing, get your energy in like a good state. Pay attention to what you're putting in your body does to you. Like I had a coffee the other day and I woke up feeling rough. I also smoked some weed and I'm like contrasting it with like, now I'm sober, I'm like detoxing from weed and shrooms and everything for a while. I think, even though I do really want a joint right now, but I just made loads of videos about addiction. Check out my video, like, why you're deeply dissatisfied with your life, and my weed addiction podcast episode is, like, I ain't, like, to get weed, I would invest money to buy it, time to smoke it, and health, likely, because of the quality of the Rizzlers and things. So you're investing all of that, and then obviously money is time, health is time as well. So, and then it's just, for me right now anyway, it's about money. Being in this Babylon thing, it's like literally, the less money I spend, the better. But they're like, it makes me feel, so like, because right now I'm very poor. I've been so poor for so long. So like, the phase that I'm in my life is deep work. In terms of, if you're familiar with, these birds, they're so beautiful. I've been here, I literally come here just to breathe this air and be mindful and like semi-meditate and do breath work for an hour. And that's what I meant, to reground, recharge with the sun, breathe in some real air. Like, we're supposed to be around this stuff. Like, the reason, the Wim Hof's like, well, what is depression? I don't get depression. The reason why he doesn't understand what depression is, obviously he does to an extent because he had a rough past, but the reason, Wim Hof is the guy who made up that breathing technique that I just done. Do it, honestly, it's 11 minutes of intense breathing will literally take you to the fifth dimension. He said the reason why he doesn't get it anymore is because the reason why people are depressed is because you just get born on a whim in a counsellor state, and you're a child and your parents are neurotic and they feed you sugar, and the government are like forcing you to get injections, and you're in a school full of people of the same nature and everyone hates themselves and projects it onto you, and then the system and everyone around you, when you're showing symptoms of dis-ease, mentally, physically, they'll tell you something's wrong with you, and then they'll prescribe you something and just go, oh, you're just a special case, there's something not up with you, just pay this subscription for some, like, all pharmaceutical shit in a box with, like, I'm sure there can be uses for it, don't get me wrong, if it's all you have, but that is like a branded, like, copyrighted medicine. Do you get me? Like, that's not real medicine. Real medicine is meditating in the sun and eating real food and stop putting toxic shit in your body. But the funny thing is people have what's known as cognitive dissonance, where I'll say that to them and they'll go, yeah, I don't know about that, and meanwhile they're like in misery because of their health problems and that, and like some people like around me, they have like terrible mental health, for example, and I'll like try to tell them about like the nature of reality, and they'll just say they can't hear it basically, They'll go, yeah, I'm not God. What do you mean? Look, like, and they'll just dismiss what I have to say. They won't bring anything better, because like positivity in a way is its own truth. I've come to realize, it might as well be kind of in a way. It's like speaking into existence, and manifestation is somewhat truth. But what I mean is they'll disregard everything that I'm saying. And I'll be like, okay, well, have fun being where you are then, because I'm ascending full blast, and you're not. The reason you're not is because you're closed-minded. So if you would only open your mind, liberation is waiting. And I'm talking to you, really. Like all these like kids here. Like I was stood exactly here actually recently, and I was on shrooms about 2 weeks ago, and one of them they were quite a year or two younger than me. They just wanted to borrow a Rizzler for their smoking some shit weed that's fucking everyone up because it's not real. Real weed is medicine. Skunk weed will poison you. Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, what are you seeing?" And everyone assumes that mushrooms is just hallucinations. And I was like, I don't really see anything these days, and I don't. Like I do. Don't get me wrong. Everything takes on a different look, but the visuals aren't as encapsulated. Like I don't really give a fuck about the visuals. What like I said, for me, it feels like spiritual. And then he just cut me off very rudely. I'm pretty sure he done it on purpose, because he was like, "Oh, spiritual. I don't want to fucking hear it. Like spiritual." Gay. And then he just started talking with his mates, and then and I was like, I was trying not to get steamrolled like that, because it was just disrespectful. One of them was still listening, who was one that I actually have hope for. Not saying I don't have hope for the others, but one of them's actually spiritual, his family's spiritual, he's more mindful. He's going to be somebody. And he kept listening to me and made it clear that I didn't just get steamrolled by the whole group, which I'm very grateful for. And I do that to people as well. And people that do that, I notice, it's like there's some people who will actually pay attention to you in a conversation. Like everyone else will steamroll you, and one of them will still like stay in the conversation. Those are the people you need to like categorize in a sense, because in a sense it's useful to categorize people in that way. Like, you know, who do I fuck with, who do I don't. But anyway, yeah, and he basically filled it in for me. I was like, I don't know, I just feel kind of, and he just said, lost. I just said, yeah, I guess. It just sounded like, you know, because that's how they look at it, me talking about God, and they're, oh, this guy's lost. And I have been lost in some senses in the past, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I remember my dad was saying that to me when I was getting really into the psychedelics as well. They do turn your life upside down, it's quite strange, but in not a negative way. It's just things will shift a lot if you start taking psychedelics and getting very spiritual. But yeah, all I have to say to that is like, look, you're sat around eating sugar, you can do what you want, but everyone's on sugar, smoking vapes, eating junk food, and they have no idea. I used to be you, that's the thing, and most of us used to be them. Most of us used to be ignorant teenagers who used to play video games, do all sorts of drugs. I used to be very depressed, I used to take pills of all sorts, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then like Mr. Nature, he used to be a gamer, and then he took loads of LSD or acid, and he went into like an infinite trance of past lives. And then it was clear to him that the name of the game is a bit bigger than he anticipated. And then those who haven't had that awakening will look at that, and you know, people hate what they don't understand. But I can assure you, spirituality is definitely a very authentic path. But yeah, what I'm saying is, if they would just open their mind, I could literally like lead them and show them the path, in a sense. I can't do it for them, but I could like towards like self-realization and forms of liberation and all sorts, and like and personal development and that. But they don't want, like, there's just like this closed-mindedness that you can't. It's like people literally cannot hear shit they're not ready to hear. I used to be like that. The reality is like this holistic flow that eventually is ready to hear things, and then like you can be so depressed one day, and then like a few days later you can like realize why you was depressed, and like how everything's coming together now. And there's a deeper unity. On one level, chaos. On a higher level is unity. What the fuck was that? There was like a bang, and then like the whole lake just shook. Did you hear it? There's a noise as well, like a plane. Yeah, so what I was going to say, I didn't lose the thread. Yeah, that's another thing. Weed makes my, like, I can't speak as good. I'm not high now, but I've still done it, but I kept the thread. What I was going to say is the bit that I'm in life right now is just, yeah, just grinding, saving. It's if you check out Leo Gura's, like, life unfolds in chapters and phases, I was in the limbo, and you can see it in my life. I was depressed, I was quite down bad, my life was changing a lot, it was very unstable. But, I'll tell you what happened is, like, around, like, so, long story short, my family are fucking, for the most part, they're NPCs. To, but, like, I mean, the people who would I'm not saying that, but, like, what I'm saying is, I'm not disrespecting you. Obviously, I love you, my family, and that. But the people who know what I'm on about, obviously, understand this. My family, you're not obviously like me. You're not interested in the same things that I am. There's a term which is like non-player character. I know that sounds very rude. I'm not saying that is the case. It's just how people will understand it. And now everyone has value. I'm not saying everyone doesn't. Of course, I don't. But anyway, is fuck. Yeah, sorry. Long story short, my family are NPCs, and I was having awakenings and spiritual things and psychedelics, and I did somewhat like lose the plot, but that's just how it works. And some cultures like will help you through that and aid you, as Ram Dass speaks on, and some people and cultures will not. So I was having awakenings. Yeah, I used to be really depressed, and I was trying to heal myself with mushrooms, and because my family just thinks that mushrooms are cocaine, and apparently they decided that the best thing for me, as I was trying to heal myself with mushrooms, would be to remove me from my house that I lived in alone, but it wasn't technically in my name, but I was completely sovereign in this place for 6 months, had a job, had money coming in, everything was cool. And it seemed negative at the time, but now I'm grateful, because that was that council estate airfield I was on about, and I didn't want to get kicked out at the time, but look where I am now, so I'm happy. And that's the chaos on one level, but unity on a bigger picture, deeper level that I keep referring to. That is the name of the game of awakening somewhat. It's like you realise that the depression in your past, etc., is only there for the contrast, because everything needs contrast. Because self relies on other, black relies on white, etc. Yin and yang, you know. So I hope you can somewhat intuit that I'm actually speaking fucking facts, and this is, spirituality is the yin and yang, it's the school of Buddhism, etc. So if you want to say spirituality is not an authentic place, then like what the fuck is the whole school of Buddhism about for thousands of years? Okay, let's just disregard that whole thing, and oh, you're just lost. I'm not too sure about that, mate. What are you eating? What are you smoking? Do what you want, but you're not happy, so you want to know what I know, but you have too much like fear and ego in the way. I don't know. Why was I saying this? Yeah, here's it. So I got kicked out for having spiritual awakening, essentially. Because everyone around me is smoking tobacco and eating sugar, and sugar's a hardcore drug, in case you didn't know. That people think I'm chatting shit about that, but it is. Refined sugar is not natural sugar. There's drugs in all of our food. Even bread, everything, literally everything that you think wouldn't have sugar, it has sugar in it, and sugar's a drug. So all of your food has drugs in it, and it is artificial, and it's the only thing you can afford because of the living crisis. It's like, fuck off, someone's obviously just taking all the money. Nature is built in abundance. How can there be a living crisis? It's because we've created money, and we all believe in money, which creates the illusion of artificial scarcity. When, if you just fucking had an awakening and took some mushrooms or something, you'd realise that nature grows food and then you eat it. That's as simple as it is, bro. You don't need money. A common contradiction is, oh, there's too many of us, we're overpopulated. What do you mean? What overpopulated to each grow our own food? Oh my god. And it don't even need to eat as much as most people eat, you know what I mean? Like, most people eat twice as much as they need to. I don't know, it's insane. The government are not trying to help you, you stupid people. Fuck's sake. I don't know. But yeah, what I'm saying holistically, yeah, is I got kicked out for having spiritual awakening, essentially, because I agreed I wouldn't take mushrooms, which is basically me agreeing that I wouldn't spiritually awaken, which is obviously not going to happen because I am spiritual awakening at this point. It's all I am. It's all I have been since it happened. When did it happen? Good question. When I was 17, I remember saying to myself, when the fuck did this become everything that I am? But it really happened when I took like 7 grams of shrooms. It was like my 3rd trip. Check out the video, search OXSN bad trip and you'll see it. It's a very like detailed thumbnail. I spent hours on the thumbnail, hours on the video. It's very entertaining. It's one of my best ones. I just uploaded it actually on my YouTube again, even though my last YouTube got terminated for spiritually awakening. This Babylon is just against like holistic healing. Why am I not grounding at the minute? Like I could literally be. Yeah, that's another thing, by the way, is the grass is electric, and obviously because you are one with the earth, you're designed to like be connected to it. So that's another reason why Wim Hof doesn't understand depression, is because he's not in Babylon and he grounds every day, and that's the cure to depression, is just to be one with nature, and be mindful, and it's just, you know what I mean. This Babylon is literally the root of depression. And that's when you realize, and then the funny thing is, Babylon tries to tell you it's you, and you actually believe it is you, and you hate yourself for it, and then you realize actually it was just the house I grew up in and the culture I was in is very myopic, ignorant, and toxic. But yeah, anyway, I got kicked out for having spiritual awakening, and then I come here, and I was very depressed at the time, somewhat, because I was so confused. Honestly, it was the midst of winter, obviously no sun, no healing, money situations. My dad was telling me I don't love him because I was taking mushrooms, and I said I wouldn't, which is just the most ridiculous conclusion ever. And then I ended up blaming myself. I took more mushrooms, and I realized well, I'll tell you what, I took some mushrooms. It was a very fucked up trip. Yeah, I'll tell you what happened actually on this trip. I just moved in with my mum. I took about 7 grams, which is an insane dose of Liberty Caps. That's a heavy dose. Be careful about them doses. And in the past, yeah, that's where I've had like full-blown terror trips, and like where I literally like decide that I must kill myself. But I didn't, because I was paralyzed, basically. But yeah, I took like 7 grams, yeah, and I was in this trance, and then I started thinking about my dad. This has happened twice on shrooms. My dad is and this is a sign of trauma. Whenever I think about my dad or my past and this old flat and things of this nature, I always cry. My dad was the only person who could make me cry, always. If he raised his voice, if he got angry and shit, my dad was the only reason I would cry, basically for as long as I can remember. Like, for the most part, I was very emotional around my dad, but yeah, I don't want to expose my father. I mean, but yeah, he's not into spirituality, he's not into holistic healing. He's like a criminal and drug past. He's always on sugar and things. He thinks that I'm trying to educate people on health, and he just calls me, like, because he had like some health problems, so I sent him like all of the health shit on YouTube that I'd ever found, and he just dismissed me and called me a YouTube warrior. I'm like, that's that cognitive dissonance that I'm on about. Oh, it's just YouTube videos. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, how can you be like ill as fuck, or like, something's going wrong with your body? So I send you everything I know, and then you just go, oh, that's just YouTube. It's like, that's the cognitive dissonance. It's like, I could help you if only you was willing to be helped. Like, but you can only truly save yourself. And then he'll listen to this and call me a cheeky cunt. And it's so I've just come to learn that most people around me are not actually about truth. I love everyone, don't get me wrong, and I get that it's an illusion and it's just a game, and I need enemies. I'm not saying they're my enemies, but you need enemies to understand yourself, because everything needs contrast, as I said about the yin and yang earlier. So I get it, and I love the whole story, and I know it's an illusion, it's just Maya, and it's just a million masks of God, and it's just entertainment simulator and love simulator. But yeah, it's like you have to just you just have to walk away. Because people like you'll literally just argue with a brick wall, and you'll end up winding up thinking that you're actually the one who's crazy, maybe, and then you'll end up hating yourself for it. But The only time you don't feel like that is when you're holistically awakened. But when you start doubting yourself, that's when you start thinking, oh, maybe Babylon is right. But yeah, you just have to walk away from people who don't want to help themselves, basically. People with bad, shitty habits, people who project their traumas onto you, people who have... Imagine having a shit day at work and coming home and projecting that onto the whole family and making the whole vibration and energy of the house go down. That's what I'm talking about. And then obviously, like, leave room for hope and growth and things. But at the end of the day, if you can't help someone and like they literally just dismiss you with that cognitive dissonance, like you try to like they clearly don't want to be helped, and they don't have to. If you want to live that way, then that's okay. And I don't want to educate you about health if it's going to make you sadder than if you didn't know about health and you just ate the junk food. That's okay. You're allowed to eat junk food. And I fell into that trap before. Like, you understand that how you keep preaching about, like, you're just instilling fear with everyone about the junk food, which on some level is correct. And it's important information, like, overall, don't get me wrong, it's important. But at the same time, some people might just be happier. Like, I don't, like, at the same, like, I keep telling my mum that the food's poison, but then she just gets sad about it and doesn't do anything about it. So, like, I might as well just let her do what she wants to do, even though I don't believe it's, like, ultimately, like, people do want health. If you could go back in time, you would have sorted it out. Yeah, sorry, I'm just keep ranting, but I kept the threads is the important thing. So what I was saying is, so I had this mushroom strip that I was on about. I took this 7 grams, and I was thinking about my dad, and then I started to cry. But this was different. I've never cried like this in my whole life. I was literally going, like, screaming and shit. I was looking in the mirror. There was like mucus pouring out of my fucking nose and shit, like insane amounts. And the room was literally like spinning, like fuck, and I was like, because the realization is like I was thinking about my dad saying, "You don't love me," when I took these mushrooms and he kicked me out. When really I was just like really not very happy, you know. And the mushrooms make you hear everything that you want to hear, and they emotionally ground you in presence, and they like. It's just relief. So, like, that's the thing about addiction. It's the way Ram Dass says it. And this is somewhat a message to my dad. It's like, you think I'm a cunt for taking the mushrooms and that. But it's like, when you look at it, like, you know, addiction is just someone trying to get that, trying to get relief from suffering. That's all it's not even addiction. It's just, the mushrooms weren't addiction. It's just I was trying to get, like, relief. I was just trying to find myself, you know, that feeling of coming home. So then, that's why I don't understand anger so much. And there's so much... both my parents been very angry from day one, shouting a lot around me growing up as a kid, all sorts. Literally, my parents are split up, like, fucking, and now I reflect on the houses I grew up in, and I talk with them now, I'm like, yeah, no fucking wonder. And I forgive you, it's not your fault, and I know that that I'm God and I just created the whole thing. So it's only me to blame in the end. But I come to realize, like, the reason why I was hating myself so much is because no one healed themselves before they had children. So I don't know why people are so quick to have children while they're still, like, addicted and neurotic as fuck. Because you're obviously going to project that onto, like, no matter how mindful you try to be, you can't. You're going to project it onto your kids because you don't have a choice unless you heal yourself. That's like just the name of the game. And you're not going to heal yourself with this cognitive dissonance attitude and this closed-mindedness. But yeah, so I reflect on him saying, "Oh, you don't love me because I took mushrooms," and I was just trying to find myself. And then I thought, you're right. How could I do that to you? I made a promise to you and I broke it, and I was defending my actions. How could I do that to you? Like, you know, this one person who's been with me, and like, although he's not perfect, he does a lot for me. I should have said this sooner, like, and he did, even though at the time he said, "No, I'm not going to do much for you because you've disrespected me so much." But I mean, he still does. And he's a great father, like, in the Western, like, conventionally speaking. He's not perfect, but most aren't, and you can't blame him for that. And I can only try and help and heal everyone. And I love him. He did break his back for me, so it's not like he had bad intentions. Everyone acts from good intentions. A video by actualize.org. I haven't actually watched that fully. Everyone acts from good intentions. Like, he was just trying to, like, you know what I mean? But like I say, like my sister's just had some kids. She's like, "Oh, I'm not going to raise them like our parents raised them. I'm going to be more mindful." It's like, yeah, but you haven't actually gone to the depths and healed your traumas. So you're going to, like, you know, there's going to be likely you'll be better, more mindful, because Gen Z seems to generally be more mindful than previous generations, because I reckon the way I've thought about it is evolution is like Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of needs, where the better things get and the more we get our survival down, the more room we have to explore creativity. Because when survival, like, I thought I was going to fucking die the other day, because I took some nitrous with some guy, and then he hallucinated that I had pulled a knife on him, and we was at some crop circle UFO field thing, like some geometric pattern that just like appears in the middle of these fields that people think are UFOs, and he started talking about death and shit, and then I just got so shook, this adrenaline spike, because he literally, I couldn't talk to him, bruv. I was like, are you alright? He literally thought I had a knife, bruv. And yeah, and when survival comes, everything gets serious, and there's no room for creativity or this kind of like spiritual exploration, you know what I mean? And that's why people just need to take care of themselves to make room for that. But yeah, basically I realized, like, I was like, oh, I don't love you, and I had this, I thought I loved you, but I didn't know what love was, and I was right to an extent, and it just deepened my love. I did love him, really, but it wasn't really my fault, and I did kind of, and I ended up winding up blaming myself while on these shrooms, and I had like a full-blown breakdown, and like everything scattered out full blast, because I thought I didn't love him, because that's what he told me, and I thought, fuck, maybe you're right. I could have treated you better, and I could have, and I'm willing to admit I'm not perfect. I haven't always been perfect. My old content, a lot of the shit I was saying is off whack. It's in the right direction, it's the right intuition, but a few like nuances of things that I said, I could have said clearer. You know, things are way less black and white than you think, and things are ever evolving, always. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, I was going through a lot of shit when I just moved here. And why I'm telling you this is because I'm trying to wrap up why I'm in monk mode at the minute. This is the whole story. All the loose ends are going to be connected now. So what I was going to say is that's the story of, I said long story short and I just dragged it on. But now, anyway, I'm here, and I was depressed, like I said, when it was in the winter. I was going through all this shit. I just had that realization about my father on his shrooms and that. Yeah, this was the phase when I started to think that I actually was crazy, because I'd integrated back with a family, and I was on coffee and sugar again. So I was integrating with Babylon. Therefore, I thought that my awakened self was crazy. And I actually done a podcast with Adeptus Psychonautica, who like hates on actualize.org and Leo Gura. He thinks, oh, he's taken way too much. So I done a podcast with him because I was like, I think you're right. I think I actually lost the plot. And you can find that. Just search up OXSN Adeptus Psychonautica. It's on my Rumble and Spotify, etc. But then I remembered again and realised that I actually wasn't crazy. But at the same time I was. But madness is sanity, and duality dissolves ultimately. But yeah, basically, I was not doing very good. I just moved in. I was being very lazy. I was smoking a lot of really, like the worst quality weed you could ever get, like this bottom bag, flaky shit that was barely even weed at this point. And I was being and something that was really getting to me. And I had a few trips about this. I would hate myself so much because I moved in with my mum, and I just like made the house like not as good. Like I just didn't clean up very much. I was lazy, but like I was just hiding, running from myself, like. And I had trips where I purged like all these negative in. I can't believe how I'm living, how I'm acting, everything. My room was such a mess. I got a job in oh fucking hell, what the fuck did I stand on? Got a job in fast food at Domino's Pizza. That's nice to stand on that. Yummy. Yeah, and it was dark times. I was very depressed at work. People could tell in my face. I looked like, I swear I wear my emotions on my face a lot, unless I'm like very mindful. But you could see, people said it to me in previous jobs when I was working at Subway. They were like, when I was really depressed when I was 16, I made my album Toxic. My boss literally said, I can see that you're like in a perpetual like breakdown. And I cry in things at this fast food job, so I'm just fucking depressed. I don't know what to tell you. And no one knew about spirituality, and eventually I found it for myself. But yeah, in short, I'm running out of storage now. I've got about a minute left, but the conclusion to the story is I was very down bad after all this fucking chaos and shit. So I moved in with my mum, and then my mum just started complaining at me eventually, like, and then just like 2 weeks ago, not even that, she kept moaning about all the things that I'm not catching up on. And as she kept doing that, I lost my job. We ran out of work. I was doing labouring, just digging holes and shit for a building site. So I lost my job. I had no money. I'd had no money really for like multiple years. My mum was just complaining at me first thing in the morning because I keep trashing the house, and rightfully so. And then I got to this point of I had like 2 days of like this really deep anger at myself and this depression and like fuck, because I just got so deeply angry with my fucking situation that I got up, and now here I am. I've cleaned the whole fucking house, I've made my whole room, I've been working really hard, and that's why I'm in monk mode, because I got sick of my fucking situation. So yeah, monk mode just means like super productive. That's what Andrew Tate says, is why I like half of his messages, is that anger is fuel, depression is fuel to improve your life. And it is, it can be. My name's OXSN, OXSN.